So a national concealed carry reciprocity bill was just introduced into Congress, and this is aiming to fulfill the promises of the Trump administration about concealed carry reciprocity, and also it is trying to use the Supreme Court's recent Bruen decision to make concealed carry lawful nationwide. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to ask you guys for a huge favor. Looking at some of my analytics, about 60% of all my viewers are actually not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to support the channel for free, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, click the notification bell icon, turn on all notifications because that helps to ensure that YouTube will actually send you these videos. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're going to be talking about a new bill which has been introduced into Congress, and this bill aims to create national concealed carry reciprocity. The bill we're going to be talking about in this video is H.R. 38, and it's known as the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. This bill comes off the heels of recent promises made by President Trump during his election, and he said that he would sign into law national concealed carry reciprocity if it passed the House and Senate. Well, now Congress has introduced this bill, which aims to fulfill that promise. The Supreme Court also has recently addressed this issue of concealed carry and has now established that shall issue is the minimum standard when it comes to the U.S. and concealed carry. But despite all of that, we know that some states like California, New York, New Jersey, and others have tried to move towards restricting concealed carry, not just for their residents, but also for anyone out of state who want to come into those states and concealed carry lawfully. Now, for those not aware, there are different types of permitting schemes in concealed carry that have existed within the US. There are things like may issue, and that is the lowest standard. That is the one that was used for a long time from states like California and New York and New Jersey, and it was used to essentially not allow everyone to concealed carry. With may issue schemes, a lot of discretion was given to law enforcement agencies by the state legislators, essentially on when and how those individuals would get a permit to concealed carry. The state could establish requirements like background checks, training, fees, etc., that those residents would need to meet to actually get those permits. However, even within those schemes, there was another component where the law enforcement agencies, the officers, the PD, or the local sheriffs had a ton of discretion to determine who could actually get the permit, who met a standard like a good moral character, or who had a good cause to concealed carry, and that often was used to deny permits. Now, this is the type of scheme that was addressed by the Supreme Court in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen, and this is the type of scheme that was struck down by the Supreme Court. Now, in contrast, there is another type of permitting process which is known as shall issue. There are shall issue states where essentially if you meet some of the objective requirements, then you are required to be given a permit by the state. Now, the last one we need to talk about is constitutional carry states. There are some states that don't actually require a permit, or at least one is not mandatory. Now, in constitutional carry states, the state legislators often establish that as long as someone is not a prohibited person, they can concealed carry a firearm without a permit. There may still be some restrictions under state laws on where a person can carry, like bars or federal, or state buildings, but generally the resident actually does not need a permit to concealed carry. Now, some of these states oftentimes still have a permit that is available. It's not required, but oftentimes people will get that for reciprocity, because not all states have constitutional carry. There are some states that even recognize other states' constitutional carry permits or non-permits, but some states offer a permit so that if they go to a state that requires permits, that resident, of Texas or whoever could still concealed carry in a different state. But this is also hitting on one of the other big issues. With concealed carry permitting, there are some states like California that refuse to recognize other state concealed carry permits. And they also fail to recognize a person who maybe comes from a state like Texas who is operating under constitutional carry of their state. This bill here was introduced and it seeks to fix that very problem. The bill is titled the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, and it was introduced by Representative Hudson and is actually supported by 120 other members of Congress, and I believe this is bipartisan. Now, in his press release on this bill, he stated that our Second Amendment right does not disappear when we cross invisible state lines, and this common sense legislation guarantees that fact. The Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act will protect law-abiding citizens' rights to conceal carry and travel freely between states without worrying about conflicting state codes or erroneous civil suits. I am proud to see such strong and widespread support, and I will not stop fighting to get this legislation signed into law. Now, this Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act would allow for those individuals who live in a concealed carry or a constitutional carry state to actually carry in a different state. So even though they're not a resident of a state, it seeks to recognize all other state permits in any state that has constitutional carry. So what does the text of this bill actually say, and what does it do? Well, the bill states that A, notwithstanding any provision of law of any state or political subdivision thereof, and subject only to the requirements of this section, a person who is not prohibited by federal law from possessing, transporting, shipping, or receiving a firearm, who is carrying a valid identification document containing a photograph of the person, and who is carrying a valid license or permit which is issued pursuant to the law of a state and which permits the person to carry a concealed firearm, or is entitled to carry a concealed firearm in the state in which the person resides, may possess or carry a concealed handgun that has been shipped or transported in interstate or foreign commerce in any state that, one, has a statute under which residents of that state may apply for a license or permit to carry a concealed firearm, and two, does not prohibit the carrying of concealed weapons by residents of that state for lawful purposes. So what does this mean? Well, the only thing that will be required for you to concealed carry in a different state would be for you to have a valid state ID from your state of residency, and that's really all that would be required if you live in a constitutional carry state. The other option is that for you to simply have a valid concealed carry permit from your home state. If you have either of those, then under this bill, you could travel to any state lawfully and still concealed carry. That would include even liberal states like New York and California. Now, this bill goes on to state that also a person who carries or possesses a concealed handgun in accordance with subsections A and B may not be arrested or otherwise detained for violation of any law or any rule or regulation of a state or any political subdivision thereof related to the possession, transportation, or carry of firearms, unless there is probable cause to believe that the person is doing so in a manner not provided by this section. Presentation of facially valid documents as specified in subsection A is prima facie evidence that the individual has a license or permit as required by this section. So under this bill, if you're maybe pulled over by law enforcement in a different state, or maybe come into contact with police and they find out that you're concealed carrying, well, they cannot arrest you as long as you show them a valid ID if you're from a constitutional carry state, or if you show them your out-of-state, permit to concealed carry, you pretty much have to be let go. They can't do anything about that. That's what this bill aims to do. It seeks to have a different state recognize your permit or to recognize your state's constitutional carry. Now, another very important thing that this bill does, and it includes, is that there's a fact there that they say that the term handgun includes any magazine for use in a handgun and any ammunition loaded into that handgun or that magazine. So if your state laws say that you can possess or maybe have a concealed carry of standard magazines or any magazines that maybe are 11 plus rounds, or if you are allowed in your state to have hollow point, because maybe there's some states that want to restrict that, as long as your actual state allows for those magazines or that type of ammunition, the new state that you're visiting cannot restrict that as well. So like I said, this bill is very important, especially post the Supreme Court's decision in Bruin, and can actually help to fulfill Trump's promises for concealed carry reciprocity. He made promises during the election that he would like to sign into law concealed carry reciprocity if it passed into Congress, and now this bill is being pushed to fulfill that promise. Now, with Republicans controlling the House and the Senate, having control of Congress, and Trump as the president, there's definitely a chance that this could get a large push. Now, of course, there's always the filibuster that could stall the efforts here, but we are in a better position right now to try to get concealed carry reciprocity, pushed through, especially with President Trump making one of those big promises. This was his big promise to the 2A community. So there's definitely members of Congress who are interested in getting this pushed and getting this on Trump's desk so he can sign it into law. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, and I will try to answer the best of my ability. But also, if you like this video and you would like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.